evening sky in Chunan was no longer as bright as it had been in the morning. A light mist began to creep in from afar, wrapping itself around the narrow alleys that once bore witness to the small footsteps of a boy named Jungkook. Now his name is known across the world, but that day there were no cheering fans, no flashing cameras, no grand stage. There was only the warmth of the living room in his childhood home and the sound of his father's voice repeating a sentence long kept in Jungkook's heart, which only now felt like a guiding light. Choose a wife like your mother. It sounded simple, even too familiar. Many boys grow up hearing similar advice, but to Jungkook, that sentence was not just a piece of guidance, it was a compass, and perhaps the only compass he needed to finally understand where his heart was meant to go. The moment happened during a short family visit granted amid his military service. Jungkook had been away for months, living a life far removed from the dazzling stages he once stood on. His posture looked stronger, his gaze sharper, but his smile remained unchanged, the same quiet smile that only surfaced when he felt truly at peace. And that day he came home, his mother prepared his favorite noodles. His father sat cross-legged on the floor, handing him a warm bottle of tea, the same one they used to drink together whenever winter arrived. Earlier than expected, their conversation wasn't immediate or deep. They waited, reading each other's gestures and breaths. Jungkook knew his father was not a man of many words, but he also knew that when his father spoke, every word reflected thoughts long held in silent reflection. When the sentence was spoken, Jungkook, if you ever truly want to get married someday, choose a wife like your mother. Silence. The noodles in his bowl had already gone cold. His mother smiled softly, pretending to be busy with her spoon and chopsticks, but Jungkook knew her heart was stirring, because all three of them understood this wasn't just a piece of advice. This was about someone who never asked for anything yet always gave everything. Jungkook took a deep breath. He looked at his mother, the woman who had been his anger all his life, the one who never interfered with his choices but was always the first to strengthen him when the world felt too heavy, the one who waited for him in the practice room when he was just 13 just so he wouldn't go home alone, the one who never boasted about her son but always cried silently when watching him perform overseas, the one who only sent 2 words on his birthday, take care, not because she didn't care but because she knew the greatest love doesn't need explanation. And now his father wanted him to find someone like that. You say that because Jungkook finally asked, his voice soft, almost like a whisper to himself. His father smiled this time, not looking at Jungkook but at his wife, because she loves in a way that never makes you doubt, because she never demands, yet she is the reason I want to be a better man every day, because she is home even when the world outside feels like a storm. The words tightened Jungkook's chest. He stayed silent for a long moment before finally replying, then I'll wait until I find someone who makes me feel like I can come home. That response made his mother finally look at him. Her eyes, clouded by age and unshed tears, met the eyes of the boy she once took on early morning buses to vocal lessons in Seoul. There were no hugs, no loud crying, but the silence that followed was sharp enough to let anyone know that love can be spoken without sound. That day Jungkook didn't talk about who he was seeing. No names were mentioned. There was no confirmation of rumors that often swirled online, but there was something in his voice, something that made his parents realize their son was weighing something deeply serious. Maybe it was about someone, maybe it was about his own decision, or maybe it was about a promise he wanted to keep so no one would be hurt. A few days after that visit, an old interview of Jungkook resurfaced and went viral on social media. In it, he said he wanted to get married in his 30s. When he was mature enough, emotionally ready, he wanted to be a husband who not only loved but protected, and most importantly, he wanted to be like his father, who may not say much but always knew the right moment to steer his son with a single perfect sentence. ARMY, the name for his devoted fans, began talking about his father's words across platforms. Some took it as a sign that Jungkook was seriously thinking about his personal future. Others speculated that maybe, just maybe, someone special was already in his life, just not yet revealed. But amid all the speculation, one truth stood out: everyone was moved, because to many Jungkook is the embodiment of a boy who grew up without losing his softness, who knows how to love without having to show it all. And maybe that's because of how he was raised, by a mother who cried silently behind closed doors, by a father who held his pride tightly in the pocket of his coat. In one of his Weverse live sessions before enlistment, Jungkook mentioned that if he ever got married, he didn't want a lavish ceremony. He wanted something simple in nature, with just family and close friends. He wanted someone who could laugh with him in silence, and above all, he wanted someone who could calm his mind, not add pressure if possible. He said, then I want someone who looks at me the way my mother looks at my father now. After after hearing his father's words firsthand. Perhaps everything is starting to make sense. Perhaps he's beginning to understand that true love isn't fireworks, it's the small flame that keeps burning when every other light goes out. Some of his fellow members have been asked how they imagine Jungkook as a husband in the future. Jim said he's a very loyal person. If he falls in love, he'll give everything. Meanwhile, RM noted that Jungkook has a mature side that only appears in deep conversations. Sometimes he's quiet, but when he talks he makes you think twice, and that's exactly what happened that day when he responded to his father with a line that left the whole room in silence, not because of its volume, but because of its depth. I'll wait until I find someone who makes me feel like I can come home. Maybe it was a line born from longing. Maybe it was a sign that Jungkook's heart is moving towards something more certain. But one thing is sure, his reply not only touched his parents but also stirred the hearts of millions who read or heard it. It reminded them that pure love, though quiet, still exists. The evening passed, the night mist slowly descended, but in that small living room a light stayed on, a short conversation that would live on in memory. Not because of who said it, but because of the meaning it carried. And perhaps for the first time in a very long time, Jungkook no longer felt like he had to keep running after everything on his own, because now he knew home isn't just a place, it's a person who makes you feel wherever you are that you've already arrived. From that simple yet stirring conversation, the true essence wasn't in who Jungkook would someday marry, but in how he came to understand the meaning of home, the meaning of return, and the truest meaning of love. The sentence his father spoke, choose a wife like your mother, wasn't just advice, but a legacy of values, a legacy of how a man loves with loyalty, respects in silence, and builds a family not from grandeur but from everyday sincerity. Jungkook's brief, quiet response was the perfect closing to a chapter filled with depth. In his silence he showed that he had learned how his parents loved each other. He's not in a rush, not trapped in the glimmer of chasing. Instead he chooses to wait until someone arrives who makes him feel, I've made it, I'm home. In a noisy world, this small story stands as a powerful reminder that sometimes the most valuable lessons don't come from books, stages, or applause, but from a modest living room, from the eyes of one's parents, and from a single sentence that stays etched in the heart. Choose the love that makes you want to be better every day. And for Jungkook, that kind of love, whether he's found it yet or not, one thing is certain, he knows what it looks like. He sees it every day in the way his parents look at each other, and that's enough to make the entire world hope that one day he will truly be able to say with quiet certainty, I'm